This has been an extraordinary decade for animated television series, and with the rise of streaming services, creators now have more platforms to bring their visions to life. Whether it's an original idea, or they're adapting a previously existing IP, we're seeing all manner of animated shows hit the airwaves, made by incredibly talented individuals and their hard-working teams. And I'm going to count down my favorites, which started airing in the current decade. So shows like Futurama and Shaun the Sheep, which began before then and continued on into the 2010s, are not eligible for this list. So let's begin. Ducktales. The reason this ranks at the bottom of the list is because I've not done a very good job of catching up with it. I watched the first 9 episodes when they aired, but then Ducktales went on a long hiatus, and I've not gone around to the newer episodes. However, it says something about the quality of this new iteration of this classic Disney property that I had no qualms about including it on this list. Matt Youngberg and Francisco Angones have done an excellent job of updating the adventures of Scrooge McDuck to a new generation, and I love the comic book art style they apply to both the animation and the backgrounds. That spirit of discovery is all throughout this new show, with a lot of imaginative scenarios for these ducks to partake in. The characterization is also wonderfully done, as the tweaks done to give Huey, Dewey, and Louie individual personalities work, as does the complete overhaul on Webby. And David Tennant has more than proven himself a worthy successor to Alan Young as the voice of Scrooge. DuckTales is definitely an example of a reboot done right. Regular show. J.G. Quintel's cartoon about a slacking raccoon and blue jay seems like a throwback to 90s shows with a similar premise. But Quintel is able to make the series his own, and the result is very funny and wild, so we watch the different shenanigans they both get into. It's amazing how much the writers and storyboard artists pack into each 11-minute episode. I love how the episodes begin somewhat mundane and then get wilder and crazier the longer they go on, with the characters also learning lessons along the way. There's also a lot of fun to be had with an easily temperamental gumball machine named Benson and a lollipop man who seems stuck in his own little world. However, in the end, it all comes back to the hilarious interactions between Mordecai and Rigby and their complete and utter immaturity. Teen Titans Go! A send-up of the DC Comics superheroes, you can tell how much Warner Brothers just let the writers run loose, and the results are, I think, hilarious. With a lot of episodes, I find I tend to laugh out loud at least 5 times, which is impressive considering their length. My favorite aspect definitely comes from the interplay between the Teen Titans, whether it's Robin trying to desperately prove himself a leader, or Raven's deadpan reactions to everything. You can tell how close the voice actors are, and the animators push the Titans to the funniest possible expressions. I also have to commend the songwriting, featuring gems like The Night Begins to Shine, and an entire song about waffles. Plus, there's an episode entirely about proper real estate investment. Teen Titans Go! Is definitely one of my favorite pick-me-ups. Adventure Time. At first glance, Pendleton Ward's fantasy series seems like an assortment of weird imagery. However, getting into it, one starts to realize what a fully realized world the Land of Ooo is. I love the mystery of it all, as Finn the human and Jake the dog attempt to navigate the many beings that populate it. Whether it's the many candy citizens of Ooo, or the domain of the Ice King, there's so much to appreciate. And then Ward peels back and shows how Ooo came to be, and it makes one admire the complexities of Adventure Time even more. There's also a heart to the show, with each character being properly developed and with understandable motivations. I also love the style of the show, both in its appearance and the music. One gets the feeling of a 10-year-old Ward imagining these creatures and worlds, all with pencil and paper. There's plenty of imagination to be found in Adventure Time. Bojack Horseman. One of Netflix's earliest forays into animation, this show works as both a humorous parody of Hollywood and an examination of an extremely flawed title character. Yes, the show is a lot of fun with its animal puns and the way it pokes fun at the Los Angeles lifestyle, but the writers also take some surprising turns in where they take the characters. Bojack himself is definitely not meant to be a hero, and the series is not afraid of showing when he's in the wrong in a situation. The other characters also work as both funny and ultimately rather sad sack personalities. The use of anthropomorphic animals is also taken advantage of to create plenty of hilarious gags. It being on Netflix also allows it to play with the television format, like an entire episode set underwater, and another one that's just Bojack giving a eulogy for 25 minutes. You may have many questions about how this world functions, but but these are eventually replaced by the admiration for the dark and funny roads Bojack Horseman goes down. Harvey Street Kids. Another Netflix series, this one produced by DreamWorks Animation, takes some of the more obscure Harvey Comics characters and modernizes them in extremely clever and witty ways. This is both humor that appeals to the current generation, while also having a classic feel in depicting a bunch of children just having fun in the neighborhood. The main trio of Audrey, Dot, and Lotta work really well off each other, and the show has fun with their different personalities. The rest of Harvey Street is filled with other delightful characters, like the wise Bobby the Elder and the oddball Bo. The various plot lines devised for the series are all extremely funny, with many great lessons too. One of my favorites is when the girls learn the consequences of not sleeping, and I feel an episode where Lotta tries to gain the respect of a local cat will likely resonate with many. If you're looking for a funny summertime show, Harvey Street Kids is one I highly recommend. The Legend of Korra. Avatar: The Last Airbender was a fantastic animated series, maybe the best produced by Nickelodeon. Creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko had a lot to live up to when they set about creating a sequel series chronicling the next Avatar who can control all four elements. Thankfully, they succeeded at creating a beautiful show that felt like a proper extension of the four nations established in the first show. I like seeing Korra's progression as she deals with living up to previous avatars like Aang, and the series was not afraid of showing her flaws. The new characters are able to become their own unique personalities, and the villains made for compelling and properly fleshed out antagonists. The action is tremendously animated, and the combination of industrialized technology with that familiar Avatar aesthetic works really well. We even get to see the origins of the Avatar line. This series proved to have the right level of adventure and drama, resulting in a worthy addition to the franchise. Over the Garden Wall. What feels like a mixture of Mark Twain and L. Frank Baum with a classic Americana visual look, Patrick McHale's Cartoon Network miniseries transports us to another world with an incredible lushness and imagination to it. Through its 10 episodes, I was completely invested in Wirt and Greg's story and all the fascinating creatures and people they come across. The whole show feels like an ode to a bygone era, while also showing the dangers that might befall anyone traveling through that time. McHale brings such a special animation look to Over the Garden Wall, and it's helped immensely by the music. The use of voice actors like Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, and John Cleese adds another layer to the characters our two leads meet. There's a wonderful moodiness to the series with so many unforgettable images. Whether you watch it all in one sitting or space out your viewing, you're in for an incredible treat. Hilda. I think adorable is the proper word to describe this Netflix-produced series. Based on Luke Pearson's graphic novels, there's a charming quaintness to the show as it explores a young girl moving to the big city. The number of unique creatures that populate this world is outstanding, with their own clever backstory and history all fleshed out. Whether it's finding a group of tiny elves obsessed with paperwork, or what really resides under our sofa cushions, there's so much to be endeared by while watching Hilda. The animation, made by Mercury Filmworks, is absolutely lovely, with a wonderful fluidity to the characters. Speaking of the characters, Hilda herself is a breath of fresh air, an optimistic lead not afraid of speaking up in what she believes in, and all the meanwhile, there's a touching message about friendship and family. I watched Hilda after getting a Patreon request, and I'm so glad I was given that extra push to ultimately give it a go, because I was all smiles during it. And my #1 favorite cartoon of the 2010s is Gravity Falls. When I was suggested this list by Ross on Patreon, it did not take me long to figure out what my #1 would be. Alex Hirsch's animated series about a pair of twins spending the summer at their great-uncle's mystery shack managed to tell a wonderful, hilarious, and imaginative story through its 40 episodes, and by the end of it, I felt like I really got to know the town of Gravity Falls. Each inhabitant has a certain clever quirk that allows them to stand out and bring something special to this world. The various magical beings Dipper and Mabel meet on their journey have their own distinct motivations and dangerous quality to them, whether the mischievous magical trickster Bill Cipher or the sentient balls in the miniature golf course. The humor is consistently on point and frequently funny. The mysteries and questions surrounding this town are wonderfully explored, and that adds a further layer of intrigue. And the animation is probably some of the best I've seen on an animated television series, showing further the dedication Hirsch and his team at Disney put into Gravity Falls. Looking back at my choices, I guess animated series featuring characters going on adventures and meeting fantastical creations hold a certain appeal to me. And why not? The amount of talent, imagination, and creativity put into these 10 shows really comes across on screen. Thank you to all the creators, writers, animators, and the rest of the production team for your hard work in putting these 10 cartoons together, as well as the many talented folks who help bring other animated shows to life. Know how much we appreciate it. See you next time.